I'm David McDougall, and I'm the rector of St Mary's Bletchley, and I've been here for the last few years. I just want to tell you a few stories of the wonderful things that God has been doing here in this place over just the last few months, actually. We saw a marriage that was rescued 2 weeks ago here. And that marriage, a long marriage, and it could so easily have ended, but in the power and in the love of God, actually that marriage has been rescued. In the last few weeks, we've seen a reconciliation in the community between people who have, had real disagreement, but actually we've seen real reconciliation. And the reconciliation of relationships and the reconciliation of marriages is so utterly wonderful and is at the heart of what Christianity is about. Over Christmas, when I was preaching at the carol service, and I was preaching all about Jesus Christ being the living Son of God, over 30 people made a commitment to Jesus Christ in that carol service. That is a wonderful thing that's been happening in our church. One other story that I just want to tell relates to part of the vision of the church, and that's with the churchyard itself. When I arrived here, there was really a bad situation with a war grave, the peri-war grave, where it really had been overgrown, and it was a difficult situation both with the family related to that war grave and with the church and with the community. And that was something I had to pick up. But together, over the last few years, we have cleared, restored, made beautiful, and built relationship with that family. So that family have gone from being really quite anti-church to now really partnering with us in the work of the renewal of our churchyard. In fact, one of the relatives gave us quite a sizable amount of money to help with the renewal of our churchyard. And it's just a little story of the very good thing that's been going on in our church. So this Christmas, we had Salt Mine Theatre Company come in and do a production called The Nutcracker. It was absolutely fantastic, and it was designed for unchurched members of our community so that anybody could come to it, and we made it so accessible because of the cost. The church was absolutely full. The majority of people we didn't know, and they all found that they could have fun in church and at the same time hear part of what is the gospel message. And that was the message that in that production was about forgiveness. We had such fun that night. It was absolutely brilliant. But what I really loved was the next morning, after the production, we had a school carol service here in church. All of our schools in the parish come to us at St Mary's to have their carol service. And I was on welcome at the door, and as the children were coming past and I was saying good morning, they were saying, "Hi David, nice to see you. The Nutcracker last night was absolutely wonderful. We really enjoyed being in your church last night for the Nutcracker." And it really struck me how wonderful it was that they'd come and they'd had great fun in church the night before, and the following day they were at their carol event, and so the relationship and the bridge between us is being built. That was a wonderful moment. I think our community would massively know the difference because we serve our community in so many practical ways. People are being got out of debt, people are being fed, people are being loved, people are being counselled, people are being prayed for, people are having amazing weddings, incredible baptisms and dedications, and when a funeral happens, those who've passed away are honoured and at the same time are helped. It is an honouring thing, but it is also a helping thing for people to know that they can know the love and compassion and care of God through his people and can be signposted to help if they really need help. I think in so many ways this church would be badly missed if it wasn't here. Many years ago, I was a curate here at St Mary's Bletchley, and one of my young people, a young man in our community, really found faith, and he came away with us sailing, and he was really part of the life and work of this church. He was in the drama group, and it was all very, very good. And then, for lots of different reasons, he fell away from church, got out of the habit of going to church, which is sometimes what happens with people, and really went away from not just church, but also perhaps a living faith. in the last few years, because of the outreach that we have at Melrose at Christmas, he brought his girls along, and they had fun, they sang carols, they had wonderful food in the tent down at Melrose at Christmas. And it gave me the opportunity to meet him. Coming back as rector, I recognised him immediately and talked with him and his girls. And they've come back to church, and he has found faith again in a fresh way. And quite soon after that, wanted to be baptised as a sign of this renewal of faith. And that's just a little story about one person in our community. One of the things that I love to do is to spot calling in people. And when I arrived here, I recognised a lady called Hannah Kibo Betts. And as soon as I met her, I could tell that she had a calling. And I said to her, have you explored this calling? And she said, well, no, not really. So I said, come on, let's do this together. So we really started a journey, which was quite exciting. We thought at first that it was going to be that she was going to become an LLM, which is a locally licensed minister that would be attached to St Mary's. And she did the training, and that all was good. And she was licensed as a LLM in the Oxford Diocese attached to this church. But when that had happened, there was something more. There was something more for her. And we both recognised it. We both went to the bishop and said, look, Bishop, it's great what you've done, but actually there's something more that Hannah needs to discover. So actually he allowed her to become a deacon, and this year will become a priest. In this year of 2020, she'll be priested and therefore given a great freedom of ministry within the Church of England. And it's a lovely little story. And one more story of somebody that was called here is a guy called Ben Sleep. When I arrived, he and I started to talk. And I said, have you ever thought about it? He said, I have, but I've never explored it, the idea of ordained Anglican ministry. So we started a journey of discernment with him. I got him talking to the Director of Ordinance here in the diocese and other advisors. And from just talking about it 4 years ago, he was selected for ministry about 18 months ago, is now in a curacy on the South Coast, having done his training, and is absolutely loving ordained Anglican ministry. And he is the most gifted apologist that I've come across in a long time. And that's yet another person that's gone into ministry from St Mary's Church. And over the years, this church has produced many, many wonderfully anointed, great Anglican vicars.